Welcome back to DXB Today. Tonight, we're talking all about family and business. We're talking about family business. Now, they can be wonderful, but also challenging, which is why legal structures need to be in place when working with your family. Now, to find out more about this, we have Dr. Ashraf Gamal El Din with us here in the studio, the CEO at the Hawkamah Institute for Corporate Governance. Dr. Ashraf, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
So I want to know, when people start businesses with a friend or a partner versus a family, are we seeing any kind of trends in problems that might arise legally?
At the beginning, it's the same start. So when a couple of friends, they start their own business, it depends on them, their own contacts, experience, knowledge, and financial, of course, support as well, which is the same for the family business. Want to start to grow, to succeed, to be bigger, that's when you face the challenges, and usually challenges are sort of similar. Because instead of just having the founder family, you have two founders families or three founders families. You start to have to face the same issues in the long term, but at the beginning, it's the same.
So I have a business with my father, which you might have heard me mention. Thanks, Faris, for bringing that up, because now it's all like we seem to be talking about. What kind of legal framework would you advise somebody to put in place if you are going to be going into business with a family member?
Well, honestly, at the beginning, it's not about the family framework, because usually there is like one or two types of companies which you can use, legal structures you can use if you like. The idea about putting the systems in place in which we will resort to if we have any challenges, any problems, and in the long term. What I'm trying to say is maybe the legal form of the company is like a sole proprietorship, for example, or a joint stock company, limited or closed joint stock company. What's more challenging is to put the systems if we would like to separate in the future, for example, if we would like after some time to cash out some of the profits, if we would like to say bring in spouses or your husband or your son or your daughter or the other partner would like to do the same. That's where it gets a little bit difficult. And the classical mistake is we wait till problems happen, then we start to say, how can we face these problems? So we always say at the beginning, you start with very simple structures, and as you grow, you start to grow the systems with you so that you are ready to face any challenges in the future.
Fantastic, okay.
And family business, I think in Dubai is so important because the entire foundation of the private economy is built on family business. If I'm not mistaken, 80% of jobs that are hired in the economy is by privately owned businesses, and 80% of the businesses also are family owned.
Yeah.
So that's a big risk. So my question over here is that now that you see the second and third generation coming into the business, how well prepared are most family businesses, and what's the right path they should be taking to ensure that in the scenario of something misfortune happening, how the company moves on?
Well, this is an excellent point because, as you said correctly, 80 to 90% of the jobs in the private sector come from family-owned businesses. But the only thing I will add is actually it's a global thing. It's not only in the region. Yeah. It's the same in Europe, the US, it's everywhere, basically. Now, what we have seen from companies is not all of them are ready to face the future, if you like. There are certain factors which you have to pay attention to, especially in the idea of the family and the business. And maybe the key success factor or challenge would be how to have a healthy relationship between the family and the business, how to interact. Who from the family has the right to interact with the business, to make decisions, to make changes in the business and so on. So this is really where a lot of businesses are not paying attention to. Now, in the region, we have some companies which are still in the first generation, more at the second generation, and less at the third generation. The third generation is the most tricky one because that's where the numbers are really large numbers. You have some people who would like to leave the business completely. You have some people who would like to have their own businesses. You have somebody who would like to have his wife or his son as the CEO of the company. That's where you have all these issues. So we have seen some families where they did have a good constitution for the family that establishes all these issues, creating some sort of general assembly of the family, those people who are senior enough and who can make decisions on behalf of the family. They have employment policies for when to employ a family member, when to employ a non-family member. All these details are really quite important. We have seen some families who have done this, but in many cases that's not done yet. And it's strange because I see some people who understand these challenges, but then suddenly they face the problems because the father died suddenly, and then we are not prepared for that. So I always say it's you need to get support and advice from the beginning. We support in Hawkamah lots of companies and families in that way, but you can get it in any other way. You need to be ready because it's a global story. It happens in any family business, and it's gonna be repeated. So you need to be ready to face that. The second thing I can add to this, which is absolutely correct, is communication. In large families, on the second, third generations, what you have is you have some people who are in the business and some people who are outside of the business. Those who are outside have no idea what's happening inside. You might make a decision which they think is not a good decision. They might have even their own financial doubts about, did we really achieve these profits or not? How much are you getting? How much is everyone getting? And why are you getting this amount of money? So the idea of communication within the family is quite essential. We have done some communication sessions for families, and they are quite important, where to get all the generations coming in a big room and we discuss things together. And you'll be amazed at the amount of things which you are not aware of as a family member, of other people's opinions and inputs in the business. So that communication is quite essential to have at least once or twice a year, not as a family sort of dinner or lunch, but as a family business event in which we meet together to discuss what's happening and where are we going forward, as you mentioned, and so on.
It should be of utmost priority, I think, if you're looking to scale the company at all. Dr. Ashraf, I want to thank you so much. Me and Amy taking notes whilst you're speaking. Thank you so much for your time here on DXB today. Hope to have you back very soon.